let's bring in Rosemary Bayer. She is the Michigan State Center for District 12, which covers a good portion of our area here in central Oakland County, Pontiac, Kego, and all of our great little towns here. Thank you for being with us here on the MegaCast. How are you? It's good to have you again.
Thank you. It's so nice to be with you guys. Ronnie, Tyler, so nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
It's nice to see that you have power.
Yes, I know. Most people around me don't, actually. I keep hearing that from folks. I got to get off oh, there goes my computer just died because the power's out,
Yeah. I wonder what it's like for parents that have to remote teach today or when without the power. So I guess it's kind of going to be the new snow days, right? When the power goes out.
Oh, that's a really good point. People were kind of bumming about no snow days, but here we go. We're always going to have that, right?
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit. Let's start off with the governor's announcement yesterday. And your thoughts on that. And one of the big things that's going to be happening is obviously this is a lot different than the first time around, and that there is no federal stimulus package right now to help some of these employees that are maybe going to be laid off. And a lot of those employees are typically the ones that can least afford to be losing their jobs right now, maybe some servers in restaurants and bartenders. What do you want your constituents to know that maybe work in these industries?
Yeah, boy, I know it's going to be rough. Two things. One, there's certainly still work going on at the federal level to get a stimulus package out. And I know there's a big push to do that before the end of the year. So we're obviously encouraging our congressional representatives and kind of keep moving that forward. We really need that help here in Michigan. And I know they're hearing our message and we're working on it. But secondly, there are supports for people still in the state. We do have unemployment here. It's still solvent. And if there's other kinds of assistance, there's a lot of different programs that are set up to help people get through this, all kinds of assistance. So I would suggest one, you can, call your representative's office. If folks are in District 12, or if you don't know what district you're in, you can call my office. It's 517-373-2417. Or you can go and look up who your representation is and call them. There are many different supports to find that. And a lot of it you can get by going to the michigan.gov/coronavirus website. Also oakgov.com. That page has a coronavirus link with all kinds of resources. So don't hesitate to reach out and ask for help. There is no shame in this. I mean, everybody is in this big boat together right now. And asking for help is okay. It's what we want people to do. We don't want anybody to suffer through this. So anything we can do to help, that's why we have government, right? We're here to help.
And speaking of government, you are our elected leaders, but yet here, even in Lansing, the two sides of the aisle don't seem to be getting along very well. Especially now,
we
have some Republicans. Yeah. And especially, now we have some Republicans that are calling for an impeachment on Governor Whitmer, saying that, enough's not being done to try to bring in our elected leaders into this process to make these decisions related to COVID. Oh, your response to that relationship between the two sides?
Well, it's pretty tense right now, I will say that. And, there's just a lot of it is just noise in the system and trying to cover something. In this particular circumstance, it's really actually infuriating for us because they worked so hard to take the governor's administrative powers away, right? So they actually got the Supreme Court to invalidate a law from 1945 that every governor has used to how to manage an emergency. They got them to declare that law unconstitutional after all these years, nearly a century. And because of that, she could no longer make decisions and act appropriately in this emergency, which is still going on. We are still in a pandemic. It is still an emergency. That put that onus onto the legislature to stand in then, right? Okay, we wanted this, they wanted it, they got it, and did absolutely nothing. Did literally nothing about it. I mean, it's frustrating to watch. It's hard for us on the other side of the aisle. The way our work is set up in the minority party, is not allowed to have any new bills after October 1st. So we need some things to manage this, and we have no input into that. So it all has to come from the leadership, the majority leadership, the Republican side, and they're not taking the actions that we need. And so, if they were standing up and doing things, that would be great. But they're not. And so the governor is trying to fill in that through the Department of Health and Human Services, which, to be honest, the public health department actually makes sense to set rules for how we should behave in a time of a health crisis. So, and on that front, that makes sense. For them to react the way they are to that idea is kind of nutty, because they're the ones who wanted control and then they didn't take it. So kind of hard to feel bad for them, and really it's time for them to just let the government work and take care of the people.
Senator Bayer, have there even been discussions between the two parties, or from what you may have heard within the majority party, which is the Republican Party at this point in time, in Lansing, about these issues, about legislating in some way or another the state's response to COVID-19? Have those discussions even been initiated in Lansing? I think a lot of people are wondering that.
Well, we were kind of wondering, given that this is hunting week, so we were told there's no session now until December. And last week, the House actually canceled their session with the announcement that there was nothing important on the agenda, and so we don't need to meet. And I just gasped when I heard that. And then when we got our agenda, all that was on it was alcohol bills. So I understand that sometimes people are having an extra glass of wine right now because this is a tough time for all of us. But that is an inappropriate way, or an inadequate set of activities or things to talk about in this pandemic. I was actually appalled by that agenda. I couldn't believe it. So that's what they're bringing to the play. I mean, it wasn't like alcohol for COVID. It was just bills having to do with who's allowed to sell cans of mixed drinks and who's not, and stuff like that, which nobody cares about. I mean, there are things that need to get done, but not right now. Right now, we need to focus on the pandemic, and there was nothing about that. So, I think this is so they took away the governor's powers to act for the very end of September. And so now we are a month and a half after that, and they've not done anything.
So within your own party, were you given a heads up that this was in the pipeline and this was going to be coming, the new restrictions?
No. No, I would say no, just flat out. But anybody who's paying attention to what's happening in the state and watching our numbers shoot through the roof, and you can actually see a 90-degree turn in the curve on cases and hospitalizations since the governor's powers were taken away, by the way. You can literally see it on the charts. But in other places where they have seen those kinds of resurgences that are so extreme, taking action and putting restrictions on the populace does help. I mean, this is the only way to make these numbers come back down, is to get everybody, this is public health again, to get everybody to participate in doing these restrictive activities and wearing masks and keeping distance. And that's how we get it under control. Until we have medicine and vaccines, this is the only tool we have, so we have to do it. So we're not surprised. I mean, if you're paying attention and looking at the data, the science and the medicine around this, you would know that something was bound to happen.
And so with that, when the details came out last night in the press conference, is that when you came aware of all the details as well, right along with the rest of us in the public, or did you know something prior?
No, that's when we got the details, was yesterday. Yes, same time. It's coming out of the health department. Yeah, no, we didn't get them. That's all I have to say about that. I like I said, nobody was surprised, at least in my work, nobody was surprised to see that. I have seen rules from other states that are actually way more severe than ours. I mean, it might feel like we have a lot of rules now, and it's actually not that many. It's stage 2 with some modification. But if you look at Washington, the state of Washington, people are directed by law to not be indoors with anyone they don't live with.
And so, with these, the new announcement, has your phone been ringing off the hook today from people trying to get clarification and more directive on how this is actually going to play out? And, is there a possibility it's going to extend beyond the 3 weeks?
Well, if we could actually do it, so this is the other thing that the data show, the science around this is if we could get all of Michigan to participate in these restrictions for 3 weeks, we will see the curve drop because you can see the exact same thing happen in other countries and other states where they put severe, tight restrictions on, and then you see a drop within a few weeks. It really does work. And we've been saying this for a long time. In the early days, it was less time because it wasn't as broadly spread, where if we could have gotten everyone to participate in those restrictions like we have now, for 2 weeks, it would have gotten it all under control. This time, we're thinking more like 3 weeks. Either way, we need everybody to participate. So if we continue to have this resistance, which is what I'm worried about, and this is where the leadership on both sides needs to stand up, because the data show this is the way to do this. We do not have medicine yet. We do not have vaccines yet. This is the only way we are going to get out of this surge soon without losing a heck of a lot of people, is to put those restrictions, take it seriously, wear your mask, keep your distance, don't have gatherings, all of those things. And they're not really very complicated. I don't know if either of you have had a chance to go look at the website on the michigan.gov/coronavirus website. There's a diagram right there that shows exactly what the orders are, and it's pictures. So, I know they've been working hard on the messaging around this so that people are not confused. And we've had a lot of questions and calls over the last few weeks about sports, and particularly school sports, of course. What are people allowed to do? And there's diagrams, and it says really specifically, this is allowed and this is not. It's a nice little chart. Everybody could go take a look at it. It's michigan.gov/coronavirus. And if there are questions after that, we are always happy to answer. And then there's actually a live chat on there. You can ask questions. So I think they work pretty hard to try to make it clear and simple for people to participate in this. And it's only really, truly, if we could get everybody to do it, a few weeks. Pretty good.
Michigan State Senator Rosemary Bayer with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. She is with District 12. Great to have you with us today and to answer so many of these questions. And with that, so if I'm a business owner, maybe I have a restaurant and a small restaurant, I'm already at limited capacity. Now I'm being shut down, except for, carry out service. What do you want the business owners to know? And how is it going to work? Can they be fined, and who's doing the fining, or is this going to be up to our local police departments to try to enforce again?
Yeah, I mean, the challenge with enforcement is there only is one arm, right? I mean, it is $1,000 fine. We still have that. That's back, I guess. But it is local enforcement. And like I said, the only way this can work is everyone needs to voluntarily participate. I mean, the rules are there, and you should follow the rules. And yes, you can get a significant fine if you don't. Will police have time to go look for these kind of violations? Pretty unlikely. It's a pretty hefty load to add to their already current workload. I can't imagine that. So it is up to us all, business owners and individuals, to follow along. And there are supports, especially, we are really fortunate because we're in Oakland County. There are so many additional supports, including financial support for small businesses through the county. So there are new grants that just got introduced through the Michigan Economic Development Corp, right? So you can go online as a business owner through that coronavirus webpage again and apply for the new funds that just came in. And they're for small businesses. The grants, I think, are up to $5,000. And that is usually enough for a small business for this short period of time that we're talking about to get you through, right? And it means cutting back again if you've been opened. But if you've been opened, you weren't opened all the way. And so now we're back to where we were way back in the spring. And, it's going to go back and forth until we can get this in control. So help encourage everyone we know to do this, to follow the rules, so that we can come out the other side and really start to come back in a more normal way. And maybe then we can time that, keep it managed very carefully, as we had, good news coming out about vaccines from 2 companies and medicine. And the nice part of that, of course, is that's, more near-term action. So lots of positives in there, too.
Senator Rosemary Bayer with us, Michigan State Senator from District 12, with us on the Oakland County MegaCast. Senator Bayer, just another couple minutes with you before we say goodbye today. Anything else that would be important for the constituents of yours in District 12 or for people in general in our local area to know from the state level at this time?
No, I think, if you get a chance, if you know anyone, there's 2 big groups now we're saying hurrah to, right? All of those frontline workers are really stretched. Hospitals are at capacity or near that. Some of them are sending people elsewhere. So we're still thanking the frontline workers. And the other frontline workers that we just stretched to the max were all the people, thousands of people, election workers, either staff or volunteers, who made everything work so well during election week, right? It was intense. It was more voters, more votes than we've ever had. Over 5 million people cast votes. And to be able to count all of those within a few days, it was just incredible. And to keep their cool under pressure, really, really amazing. So say thanks to those guys if you know any of them, because they're just all incredible. Those are the heroes for the month.
They definitely are. We know here in the West Bloomfield area, they worked around the clock to pull off this election. So thank you to all of them, and thank you to you as well for taking time out to be with us here on the Oakland County MegaCast. I know you're in your first term still. This must be quite the education that you're getting to not only step into this position, but also to do it in the middle of a pandemic as well. So we want to say thank you for your time, and it's always great to have you with us here on the Oakland County MegaCast.